Hey, I'm Stuart, founder of DMARC Defender, and in this video we're going to be setting up DMARC, DKIM, and SPF with Amazon SES. So first things first, I'd recommend checking your domain to see what protocols you already have installed. So I'm going to use the domain check tool. I'll put a link in the description, but you type in your domain, you click check domain, and it'll tell you what the current status of email authentication is on your domain. And so we can see for this domain, I already have a DMARC record. This is important to know because you do not want to install two DMARC records, and the AWS instructions are actually going to tell us to install another DMARC record. You don't want to do that. We can see I already have an SPF record and I have some DKIM keys. So we're going to come back after we're done and we're going to check and see what these look like. But to get started with in setting up SES, let's do get started. For this, I'm going to do DMARC Defender, DMARCdefender.io. This is within the AWS dashboard. For the sending domain, I'm going to do DMARCdefender.io. For the mail from, so it is important that we set up mail from if we want DMARC to work correctly. The way it works is, so you have two from addresses in your email. So when you send an email, it'll say like from Stuart at DMARC Defender. There's also a hidden one. This is called the mail from, and it has a bunch of different names, and it's for handling bounces and stuff. You don't normally see this one, but it's important when setting up DMARC that you use your own domain so that you can have something called alignment. If you don't understand all that, don't worry too much. It doesn't matter. Basically, just want to make sure you're actually using this mail from, so that way your DMARC works correctly, and specifically you get alignment to work. So you can choose whatever subdomain you want. No one's going to see it. It's just for tracking. I'd recommend using a subdomain you're not using elsewhere, although at the end of the day, you're only setting MX and text records on it, so it doesn't matter too much, but I'd have it just a dedicated domain that you're not using with anything else. So I'm just going to say SES. It'll fall back to Amazon SES if the DNS records aren't set up correctly, which is totally fine. This is up to you, whatever you like. Some of these turn on, like this will automatically rewrite links. It's not really related to email authentication, but if you like that or you don't like that, you can turn that on. This will also let you know if some of the records aren't installed correctly. Up to you if you want to use it. Cool. Validation, up to you. Dedicated IPs, again, up to you. Tenant management, again, depends on your setup. That's up to you. And here we are. We're all set. Let's click Get Started. First things first, we need to do the verification or the email verification. So that'll be in my inbox. So here's the verification link. So I'll click that. So we should be verified. I can now hit refresh. So we were verified. Now we can add the DNS records. So these are all the DNS records that AWS wants us to install. So here are the DKIM records. We can also see their DKIM records because they have the domain key here. So we need to set these three CNAMEs up. Since we're using the mail from subdomain, we can see that we have these to add, and then it's also recommending that we add a DMARC record. Since we already have one, we're not going to install one, but if you don't have one, we'll talk about what the different DMARC record options you have are. But yeah, let's start adding DMARC records. So to do this, you're going to have to log into your DNS provider dashboard. So this could be like GoDaddy, Cloudflare, Namecheap, AWS Route 53. I think if you're using AWS Route 53, it'll have like a button to auto add them. So this should be much simpler. Make sure again that you don't have two DMARC records. For this project, I'm using Vercel, so I'll add the records there. But from here, we're just going to copy the records. So we'll copy this. We don't want that trailing domain name. We're not going to use that since we only want the subdomain when we're copying stuff. But we can see here, we have the first domain key. It said it was a record type CNAME. Let's go back, and this is the value. So we'll copy that and paste that, and we'll click add. Let's do that for the rest of the records. Again, we don't want the actual domain. We'll copy that. It's a CNAME. We'll copy the value. Click add. And the last one, domain key. Copy this. And we need the value. And we'll click add. Cool. So we installed all the DKIM keys. Next up, we need to do the SPF for the mail from, and then we also have to set up the MX records so that AWS can handle our bounce backs and stuff like that. So we can do the MX record first. So we're going to set this on SES. Again, we're not copying the domain, only the subdomain, and it was an MX record, and they want us to set it to this. So it is this value. This 10 is the priority, so you can delete the rest and then just put the priority here. So it looks like AWS automatically checked in the background while I was setting things up, and it automatically marked them as verified and just redirected me, even though I wasn't technically done setting up. So what we can do is we can go to identities, we'll click here, and we'll scroll down to our mail from, and these are the DNS records we're supposed to set up. I never finished setting up the SPF record. I'm not sure why I verified that, but we'll set that up now. So we'll do SES. It is of type text, and we want v equals SPF1. It was include AmazonSES.com and all. Pretty sure that's what it was. V equals SPF1, include Amazon SES and all. And so now the last record is DMARC. So for DMARC, you have a couple of different options. Again, make sure you don't already have a DMARC record installed. If you do not want to have two DMARC records. Otherwise, you can install a new DMARC record. And you have a couple of different options for DMARC records you could install. The simplest policy you could do is v equals DMARC1, p equals none. This is what AWS recommended. And basically what this is saying is just accept any email. Even if it doesn't pass authentication, just accept it and don't apply any policy. And so that means if someone's impersonating your domain or impersonating one of your email addresses, you're just saying accept it as it is. We allow everything. One step up above that, and this is where I recommend everyone starts at, is what you can do is you can set up something called reporting. And so what this will do is every 24 hours, all the major email inboxes will aggregate all the emails sent by a particular domain, so your domain, and they'll email the email address you put in this RUA tag, and it'll give you a bunch of statistics and analysis on which emails and from where are passing or failing authentication. And so this is super useful while you're setting up because it'll specifically tell you like, hey, emails from AWS are failing SPF authentication. And so now you know you need to go look at your AWS configuration to get it fixed and working. And so once everything is passing, then you know that you can switch to p equals reject, which is where you actually block the people that are impersonating your domains. The reason you can't just move to reject is because it's very likely that you'll have valid, like legitimate email that will be blocked because they're not properly authenticated. When you set the RUA to your own email, it'll send you those kind of complex XML reports. There are vendors such as DMARC Defender, and what we do is we give you a personal RUA email address, and it's an email address that points to us. And so we collect all those XML reports, we'll analyze them, and we'll let you know what changes you need to make to your DNS to fix everything and make sure everything's properly authenticated. So again, I'd recommend setting one of these records. You can pick which one you like. And to actually set it, you're just going to do .dmarc, and then you're going to put in your policy here. Like I said, since I already have one, I'm not going to make a new one. Otherwise, my DMARC would break. One last thing for your DMARC policy is you cannot use strict alignment. Since we're using a subdomain as our mail from, we want to allow our subdomain to align to our main domain. And so to allow that, you need to be in relax mode, which is the default. But sometimes I see DMARC policies will use the strict alignment. So ASPF equals S and DKIM equals S, strict and strict. Either remove this or set it to R so that's in relax mode. Again, if you have reporting enabled, it'll catch this error. But if you don't, just make sure you're not using these with AWS SES if you're using a mail from, which you should. Cool, and after that, you should be all set. So we can go back to the DMARC tool and check. We didn't make any changes on this root record, so nothing there should be, we wouldn't see anything there, but we could check ses.dmarc defender. This is that subdomain we used to see if things are set up correctly, and we can see that we do have the SPF record here, which is the one we set. So that is good. And then the DKIM keys, we could manually check the DKIM keys, but AWS already verified that they were set, so we're there. And we can also see that based off of the previous one, we go back to DMARC Defender, that we do have a DMARC record that's set. It'll make sure that it's not malformed, there's no extra spaces. It'll make sure that there's not duplicate records. It'll make sure, you're using equals in the correct places and colons in the correct places instead of swapping them out. Make sure like things are capitalized correctly, all that stuff. So anyways, now you are set up with AWS SES, and you should have a valid DMARC policy, valid SPF, and valid DKIM. So anyways, hope this was useful, and thanks for watching.